materials, you will need around 8 yards of any Jumbo 7 Chunky Chenille yarn. You can choose whichever brand and color you want, but for this tutorial, I will be using this olive green Chunky Chenille yarn. You will also need 3 pieces 6 inches long black Chunky Chenille yarns and 2 pieces 6 inches long pink Chunky Chenille yarn. This is actually thinner than the usual Jumbo 7, but I'm using this one because of the color. So if you have pink scrap yarns, you can use that too. Of course, you will need some polyfill, scissors, and stick. Now, once you have all the materials ready, let's jump right into it. Start off by leaving around 8 inches tail. Then create a slip knot. Cross your working yarn over to the left. Insert your fingers through the loop, grab your working yarn and pull it through. Now you just created your first chain. For the foundation chain, you will need a total of 8 chains. So insert your fingers through the loop, grab your working yarn and pull it through. Now you have 2 chains. Continue creating your chains until you have a total of 8 chains. Next, turn your foundation chain into a circle, like so. Next, we are going to knit through each of the top loops, right here. Here are the top loops of our foundation chain. We're gonna knit through all of that. I'm just gonna tuck this tail at the center so it's out of the way. Then, let's start knitting through the first top loop. Grab your working yarn and pull it through. Now you have 2 loops. Next, knit through the next top loop. Now you have 3 loops. Continue knitting through the rest of the top loops until you have a total of 8 loops. The secret to make your stitches look beautiful and even is that to make each of your loop the size of your 2 fingers. Now I'm done with my first row. For the second row, we are going to knit through all the loops. So insert your fingers through that first loop, grab your working yarn and pull it through. Now you have your first loop. Next, knit through the second loop and continue knitting until you have a total of 8 loops. At the end of this row, we are going to fold our project just like that. This is to avoid big gaps in between our stitches. So this is your last loop and your first loop, and we're just gonna fold it right there. And we're gonna knit clockwise. Okay? So for row 3 to row 10, we are going to knit 8 for each row. Next, leave around 6 inches tail, then cut your yarn. Then we are going to close this up. So insert the tail through all the loops from inside to outside. Gently pull your yarn through until you fully close the gap. Go through some of the loops one more time to secure. Next, tie the tail to some of the stitches here. Then tuck the remaining tail inside. I'm just going to use my stick to help push the yarn in. Next, stuff your pickle with polyfill. Next, insert the tail through all the bottom loops of your foundation chain. Right here. Here are the bottom loops. Now we're going to insert the tail through all of that from inside to outside. Gently pull your yarn through as you go. Go through some of the loops one more time until you fully close the gap right here in the middle. So go through, like, I don't know how many loops, but it doesn't matter for as long as you securely close that gap right there. Now that it's fully closed and secured, we are going to tie the tail to some of the stitches here. Then tuck the remaining tail inside. Again, I'm going to use my stick here to help push the yarn in. For the eyes, we are going to use our 2 pieces, 6 inches long black yarns. We're going to use one for each eye. Then, eyeball where you want to place the eyes. Insert your yarn through the stitch where you want to place the first eye. Just like that. Then, tie both ends. And tuck the remaining tails inside. Do the same thing for the other eye. For the mouth, we are going to use one 6 inches long black chunky chenille yarn. Then eyeball where you want to place the mouth. So obviously, like somewhere right here at the middle. Right here. So what we're gonna do next is we are going to insert the yarn through the stitch where you want to place the mouth. Just like that. Next, we are going to insert the tail here on the right through the bottom loop of that stitch where the other tail is coming out. Just like that. And then we're gonna do the same thing for the other tail. We're gonna insert it through that same loop, like so. Next, tie both ends. Then tuck the remaining tail inside. We can shape the mouth more by pushing the yarn in using our stick, just like what I'm doing here. But also, we can just trim it. So for me, I prefer the mouth to be like thinner. So I'm just gonna trim the yarn here until I achieve that V shape that I want for the mouth. Next, eyeball where you want to place the blush. For me, I'd like to place it like right under the eyes. So right here, insert your yarn through the stitch where you want to place the first blush. Just like that. Next, tie both ends. Then tuck the remaining tail inside. Do the same thing for the other blush. Finally, for the last part, cut around 8 inches long of the same color of yarn you used for the body. Then insert it through one of the loops here at the very top, like so. Then we are going to leave around a size of our 4 fingers before we tie both ends. Right here, this is where we're going to tie a knot. Tie a knot 2 times, like so. Next, move your loop until the knot reaches the body of your plushie, where we can tuck the excess yarns inside. Again, I'm going to use my magic stick here to help push the yarn in. To those of you asking, what I'm using here is actually just a chopstick. Now, our pickle plushie is all done.